Hello, readers! Welcome back to Reading in the Middle, the podcast where middle grade books take the spotlight and the biggest voices in storytelling pull up a chair. I'm your host, Anisha Jeffries, librarian at the Cleveland Public Library. And today's episode, it's a creative clash you don't want to miss. Two literary heavyweights, Newbery Award winners Jerry Craft and Kwame Alexander, have joined forces for J versus K, a brand new illustrated novel packed with comics, doodles, drama, and a school-wide storytelling showdown. J is the kid who draws. K is the kid who writes. Both are bold, competitive, and determined to win, and maybe, just maybe, discover some bigger things along the way. J vs. K is everything you loved about New Kid and the crossover. Fast, fun, and unforgettable. And it hits shelves May 6th. Today, I'm sitting down with Jerry Craft, who is a New York Times bestselling author and illustrator, best known for his groundbreaking graphic novels New Kid, Class Act, and School Trip. New Kid made history as the first graphic novel ever to win the John Newbery Medal for the most outstanding contribution to children's literature in 2020. It is also the only book to win 3 major awards: the Newbery 2020, the Kirkus Prize for Young Readers Literature 2019, the Coretta Scott King Author Award 2020. Jerry's work has redefined the landscape of middle grade literature, bringing humor, heart, and authentic representation to young people. And it hits shelves May 6th. Today, I'm sitting down with Jerry Craft, Newbery Medalist, Coretta Scott King Award winner, and graphic novel trailblazer, to talk about creativity, competition, finding your voice, and what it really means to tell a story that matters. So, sharpen up your pencils, crack those sketchbooks, and get ready, because sometimes the best stories aren't about winning, they're about how you tell them. Hi, Jerry. Welcome to Reading in the Middle. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
Thank you. So, Jerry, I have to say, between book deadlines, movie deals, and tour stops, you're kind of everywhere right now. Does it feel wild, or are you still just that kid who likes to draw in the margin?
Both, because there's so much more than just drawing in the margins. So I am home for about 2 weeks, where I get to sit in the backyard and write, and then come to my studio and draw. But then, like right before that, I think I was in St. Louis, and then I was in Wisconsin, and then I was in New Jersey and Cambridge, and I'm about to start a tour with Kwame Alexander, and I'll tell you about that book. And that's probably going to be like 21 cities, coast to coast, for almost the entire month of May. So that will be a bit overwhelming, but it should be a lot of fun also.
That sounds great. It was Kwame Alexander, and I'm glad you mentioned his name, because you have a book with Kwame coming out called J versus K. It's a brand new collaboration with Kwame Alexander, and I have to say, I have had an opportunity to read it. It's clever, it's competitive, and it's so funny. So much
good
fun to read. Yes. Where did the idea come from? And be honest, who's more competitive, you or Kwame?
That is a really good question. I think we are competitive probably equally, but in different ways. I'm probably more quietly competitive. Like if I see something, I'm like, okay, I know I have to step my game up. Kwame is kind of a bigger personality, so he might call me out in front of a room full of people, but I will be in the background, like learning and watching, you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But
yes.
So I had the idea to work with him a couple of years ago. And I thought that if we did a collaboration that wasn't a graphic novel, but more of a combination of what we did together with his prose and my art. So it's more of a an illustrated book, like a Wimpy Kid style book. So it's more like a Wimpy Kid. And I thought that it would be really funny to take the rivalry that we have with each other and make it two fifth grade boys. So one is an artist like myself, one is a writer like him. And each year their school has a storytelling contest, and both kids enter and they want to win really badly. So they become bitter rivals, and then all the hijinks ensue, as they say.
Lots of hijinks. Totally. And what I love about J versus K is that they're battling it out creatively, in words and pictures. Do you hope readers learn from watching two kids try to write out and draw each other? That's what I meant to say. Try to write out and draw each other. Do you hope readers will learn from that?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing is that I think we both want to show kids that you can be rivals, but still root for each other. And I think nowadays everyone you have to pick one. You like this one or you like that one. You like this or you like that. And, it gets to the point where it's just too much sometimes and it becomes very mean-spirited. So obviously, if Kwame and I are up for the same award, I would like to win it. But if I'm not, and he's up for it, then yeah, I'm very happy if he wins. And when I won my Newbery in 2020, he was the first one to call and congratulate. And I was like, wow, that's pretty classy, And I learned from that. So now when people win, I reach out to them to congratulate them. And it's so much better than being one of these people where it's like, oh, I wish they hadn't won that, or I wish they didn't have that, And, in certain ways, he will pave the way for me. And I hope certain ways I will pave the way for him. And we can both continue to get better. And I think that this book, this collaboration will be a great thing for both of us.
I agree. After reading it, I was like, man, you guys should do more books together. Hopefully this is, something that'll happen more often. And
we'll see how the tour goes, because I have to be stuck on a bus with him for almost the entire month. So ask me at the end of the month if I feel like doing another book with him.
I sure will. I'll make sure to ask, because that's important, especially if you're going to be on a tour bus, correct?
Yes. And we're literally going from coast to coast.
Okay.
Yep. We're going from New York to San Francisco.
Wow. I hope you document everything. That would be great.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Documentary style, like the whole process, that would be great to see that in action. But I will get back with you after at the end of May to see how it all worked out. And I know all good things, but humor too. But I want to mention, Jerry, you have this incredible gift, right? You make us laugh and think, and your books tackle real stuff like race, identity, microaggressions, self-worth, but they never feel heavy. How do you balance the serious with the silly?
Yeah, I always look at what's out there, and a lot of, things for kids, like even the Disney cartoons, those kids, they always lose their parents, they lose this, they lose that. And I just think that these days kids have enough real life stuff on their own that they're battling. My goal is to do stories that may touch on some of those heavy things, but there's always hope and love and family and future. So you just never want a kid to give up. And
I agree. You don't.
Yeah, I feel like so much of what happens for kids is just like, wow, like why even get out of bed? And even for adults, like with all the stuff that has happened in the last 10 years, it's like, you need to be able to laugh. You need to be able to hope. You need to be able to see that there is something positive waiting for you. And those are the kinds of stories that I try to do. So even if two characters start out by not liking each other, not that they have to be best friends, but I like to find a way where they can at least live in the same space and find some of their differences, but then find some of their similarities as well.
Your books, they do that, and they touch so many young people's lives. I can say that as a librarian who have your books, we always have to get replacements because they go out a lot, and it's just good to hand your books over to young people and for them to really engage like nothing else, and so that's very important. And I just wanted to mention that as well, too. But one thing I do want to mention also, oh, you're welcome. I read that New Kid is going to be a movie.
Yeah.
And what was your first reaction when you got that call?
Well, the one thing is that it's Spring Hill Entertainment, which is LeBron James's production company. So that, I'm a big fan of LeBron's. And so that meant more than, just about anything. And then, we're going back and forth on whether it will be live action or animated. At this point, it's live action. But, it takes so long to even get to the point where they start filming, of going through the treatment and then the screenplays and then rewriting and approving and, getting a director on board. And then once that happens, you try to get the talent on board. So it takes so much that I have to kind of put it out of my mind. Like, I don't want to be one of these kids like on Christmas morning, it's like, okay, can we open the gifts now? What about now? What about now? Or kids, in the car ride. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Because I just wouldn't be able to focus on anything else, and there's always a new book that I'm working on. There's always a new school that I'm going to. So I have to kind of, I'm definitely optimistic and enthusiastic, but I have to keep doing all the other stuff that I do in order to stay focused. So I don't want to say take it with a grain of salt, but almost that.
No, I hear you. I mean, it would be great either way, live action or animated. So I can't wait. I'm excited. When I read it, I got excited. So.
And I'm the kind of person that I need to see stuff happen, because even when I first did New Kid, it was turned down maybe 5-6 different times. So I wasn't sure if it would get sold. And then it got sold, and then that was great. And then I won a Newbery, but then there was COVID. So there was no ALA that year. So I wasn't able to go there. And then, we worked on the movie, and then there was the writer's strike, and then you do this, and then this happens. So I have to be very realistic. And, once, I'm on set and I see them go and action for the first time, then I'm like, okay, now I can be excited.
Mm-hmm. When you get that chair that has your name on it.
Right.
And you can sit down, you'll be like, yeah, that's it. We're ready to roll. Jerry, you've changed the game for middle grade readers, especially kids who never, saw themselves in books. What do you want your legacy to be? What's the big picture Jerry Craft is drawing?
Making kids feel welcome and making African-American characters who could appeal to kids around the world. One of the things that I had always fought as a young artist was having editors say, okay, well, Black audiences will love your book or your Mama's Boys comic strip or, this, but how will it play in the Midwest? So I was always pigeonholed as a Black artist or Black writer because a lot of people didn't have faith that these stories could be universal. And I just thought it was so short-sighted because, the people who I've had to relate to in my life, start with the Brady Bunch and the Parsons Family and, Spider-Man, Peter Parker and Pip from Great Expectations. None of those kids look like me. And so I was always like, well, I like them because they're good characters. It doesn't matter who they are. It would be a bit more sincere if the characters were African American, if I could have that extra little bit of familiarity. But they just didn't exist because a lot of our characters, the books were history. or they were misery, and it was about suffering, and, you get punished for the first 250 pages of the book, and then just because the last 20 pages are happy, it's supposed to be a happy book. And I'm like, no, I still feel awful, and not that they weren't good stories, but, if you look at like, Roots or The Color Purple or the things that were around when I was a kid, there was a lot of suffering just for that last 20 minutes of happiness. And so I did not like to read, because I'm like, why would I want to spend my day this? I'd rather play a video game, or I would rather make my own stories. And
yes,
so I would love my legacy to be that kids could relate to these African-American characters. Even if you are a little boy I actually was in Singapore and Taiwan in February, and I did a signing at a place called Bunny Books, and like 50 people showed up, and I'm talking with a translator who's translating my words into Chinese, and I'm signing copies of my book in Chinese. And these kids love Jordan Banks and Drew. And I just don't think that kids see enough of these kinds of characters by watching TV or the movies, or especially the news. You know what I mean? You don't think that these kids exist. And yeah, I've had kids. I was signing in a store in Massachusetts, and this young Latino boy comes over to me, and he just stood next to me, like uncomfortably close, for a couple minutes. And then he just said, "Thank you for Ramon." And, Ramon is one of the characters in the 3 books who, is a Latino boy, and he just related to him, And then as I go places, I have kids go, "Mr. Kraft, how come there's no girl from India in your book?" And I was like, because I never thought of it. Like, I was so concerned with doing the African-American perspective, I wasn't as conscious that kids from India need representation. And then, "Mr. Kraft, how come there's no Muslim girl in your book?" Okay, well, I'll put Samira in. "Mr. Kraft, how come there's no,
Yeah.
And I've had parents email me. Little girl came running, "Look, Dad, this kid here has a yarmulke on," because she just, a little Jewish girl had never really seen that. Or when they do, they're always victimized, same as the Muslim kids or the Black kids. And I just don't want to have kids as victims. I just love doing the innocence of middle grade. So I don't have any desire to do an adult novel, or, you know what I mean? Like, this is where I'd like to stay.
We have enough of those. Please. Yes. We have enough adult books. They could just, we have enough. Oh, that's wonderful. I love hearing those stories. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you mentioning that, because it does mean a lot to have that representation. And yes, everything that you said, I totally agree with that, especially reading books that you just don't want to read about misery. You just, don't, especially if you look outside and you see misery, you don't want to escape into that, But yeah, you said it perfectly, and that's your legacy is it's going to be nice and solid. So just know that, like I know everything, right? Oh, your legacy. You're welcome. Now, before we go, it's time for a little reading in the middle tradition called rapid fire round. So there's no overthinking. You just say the first thing that pops into your mind. Are you ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Pencil or marker?
Marker.
Favorite comic strip growing up?
Boy, I know I'm not supposed to think that out. Far Side.
It's a good one. You're stuck in a school cafeteria. What's the one lunch you refuse to eat?
Oh, boy. Probably anything with meat. That cafeteria meat is always a little like...
Yeah, when I was going to school, it was meat in a can.
A salad, maybe even that pizza-like substance that they serve.
Jordan Banks' dream field trip destination.
Boy, I guess going to the Louvre like he did in School Trip would probably be it. Although he wouldn't know that was his dream trip, because one of the things, and this is a long answer, but kids don't really know that they can dream, so that's why in school trip, when Jordan came back from Paris, he brought money back. He brought €1 back for Drew and said, promise me that one day you will go there and spend it. So now he wants to give Drew the gift of dreaming that he can one day travel and go places as well.
What's harder, drawing feet or writing dialogue?
Drawing feet. First time I've been asked that.
Superpower of choice.
Huh?
Oh, I just said superpower of choice. Flying, time travel, or instant sketching.
Not flying, because I would probably get sick and they'd be, hey, look, and I'd be like throwing up on people as I went over them. So I would not have a lot of fans. What was the second one?
Time travel or instant sketching.
Time travel.
You have 30 seconds to draw something. What is it?
Normally when I do school visits, I draw Jordan, Liam, and Drew, the 3 main characters in the New Kid series. And I do that pretty quickly. And I love drawing live in front of kids, because even the kids that are older and think that they're too cool are like, oh my God, look. I'm like, okay, that's it. Be kids again.
If you could trade places with any fictional kid for one day, who would it be?
Kid? Boy.
Weirdest thing you've ever drawn?
Weirdest thing I've ever drawn? That's a good one. I don't know. My things tend to be more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. One word, and this is the last one. One word to describe what you want kids to feel when they finish one of your books.
Same.
Awesome job with the
thank you.
Questions.
They don't give these out to just anybody.
That's right. That's absolutely. You're holding the Newbery medal. I love that. You're right. They don't. Oh, that's beautiful. What a sight. Oh, let me see. Oh, I love that.
Yep. So the sticker on the front is the front in gold. And it's a replica of the actual Newbery medal.
Yes, just like this.
Yep, there you go. That's it.
Yes. Wow, holding that. One day I'll have to ask when I see you, do you travel with it?
Have you ever traveled with it? Oh, this is the Coretta Scott King Author Award. And then this is the Kirkus Prize.
Like those. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So yeah, Kwame and I are both going to take our Newberries on the road with us, and he will, of course, bring his Emmy, because if you've seen him in the last year, you've seen the Emmy.
I have seen him. Yes. He brought the Emmy Award. That will be you too. So no worries. That will be you. And then you'll have an Oscar, and then you'll be able
then he'll have to catch up to me. Absolutely.
Yes. And if they turn a New Kid into a Broadway play, you'll have a Tony. So then,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I like the way you think.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I'm always moving and shaking, helping that flow. Oh my goodness. Jerry, you know what? You survived this rapid fire round. No eraser needed. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me on Reading in the Middle, and I cannot wait to see what you draw next. I want to thank you.
Okay, so now you are officially with Team J now.
Yes,
hey,
I am.
I don't want to see you hanging out with the Team K people.
No, I will not hang out with the Team K people. It's Team J all the way. My last name is Jeffries. I'm Team J.
Nice. I like that. All right.
Jerry Craft and Kwame Alexander have already changed the game, each winning the Newbery medal with stories that made readers feel seen, heard, and powerful. Now with J versus K, they remind us that creativity isn't about who wins. It's about how you show up, how you tell a story, and how you make your voice heard. A huge thank you to Jerry Craft for joining me today, for building worlds where middle grade school feels real and where kids see themselves, and where every reader knows they belong. J vs. K hits shelves May 6, 2025. Don't miss it. And if today's conversation inspired you, please share this episode with a friend, a teacher, a librarian, or a new kid at your school, because stories get stronger when we pass them on. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep reading in the middle.